It's 50 minutes until the next E-FWD event begins here in Aberdeen, and I'm sitting down with Hine from Dräger. Megan, your role sits at the crosshairs of a safe energy transition, does it not? Tell us about what that looks like day to day in 2024.
Yes, so as you mentioned, we're Dräger Safety. We are a safety manufacturer, and our mantra is technology for life. So we're always about protecting life either in the medical sense or in the safety sense. We've been going since the late 1800s and a family-owned business. And Stefan Dräger, he has two main focuses: the company that he wants to leave for his future generations, and also the planet that he wants to leave for his future generations as well. And he says, we're in a privileged position that we can think in terms of generations and not just in terms of financial years. So for us, that gives us great scope to do the right thing by the energy transition. And my role, particular at Dräger, is the Energy Transition Business Development Manager. I'm responsible for our approach to the energy transition, and it needs to be a safe energy transition very much. This is an emerging industry. It's something where we can't afford a major safety incident. I think that's clear. When it comes to CCUS, when it comes to hydrogen, when it comes to batteries, safety needs to be paramount because it affects everything. It affects the ability to insure projects, it affects planning, and it can affect financing as well. So we're very conscious that we need to keep the safety agenda going, because not only does it keep people safe, but it helps push the energy transition forward at pace.
And with something like hydrogen, do you feel like you're in somewhat uncharted territory with some of the projects that you're working on, and what learnings do you lean on to make sure that you do your jobs properly?
Yes and no, and that's a great question. We've been detecting hydrogen as part of industry for about 40 years. It's been a feedstock for a very long time for a lot of industrial processes. We've had hydrogen gas detectors in our portfolio that we've continued to evolve and adapt, but they have been around for the last, a good number of decades. But what is a change is the volumes that we're expecting to see, and also the pressures and potentially the temperatures as well that the gas and the energy source is going to be moved at. Not that these things are necessarily new for the energy industry. We're very used to dealing with gases at high pressure and at a very low temperature, like LPG, for example, and LNG. But, we haven't done all of those things with hydrogen. So for our point of view, we're very much about trying to educate and share the knowledge that we've got as far as it goes, so that we can get engineers off onto the right footing. We can support students that are coming through as part of some of the renewable energy MSCs that we're seeing from some of the universities.
Tell me more about those renewable energy MSCs. Are you seeing university and colleges provide the right kind of training for graduates as we enter this new economy?
That's a fantastic question, actually. And recently I was lecturing at Aberdeen University or providing a guest talk as part of their Energy Transition Wednesdays, they call them. And then I was also at a panel as part of the Hydrogen Week conference in Liverpool, Accelerating the Hydrogen Economy, where I was on a panel talking about skills with Amar Gaffer as well from Manchester Metropolitan University. And he said it's absolutely key that the people that we're putting out from these education programs are ready to go into industry, because when we look at the pace of change that's required, a lot of the startup dates that the government are targeting to meet our legally binding agreements as part of the Paris Agreement, we don't have the time for these students to maybe take 4 or 5 years time to kind of get up to speed. So it's important that the students go on this journey and learn about the processes and the engineering that's required, but they come out with the right skills. And I think there needs to be a focus on a blend, practical skills as much as academic skills. I think the UK has really much focused on academia over the recent decades, and now we're seeing more of that transition back to apprenticeships and the value being placed on both. But there's definitely needs to be an element of practical skills that comes out of it, which is where I think supply chain can really help.
Absolutely. Let's talk about floating offshore wind, because listening to you, my mind is going to which of the areas for growth and transformation, be it carbon capture, utilisation and storage, hydrogen, offshore wind, which is providing the biggest challenges to you as an organisation in scaling up to support those players in transition?
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of excitement about floating offshore wind, but with that must come tremendous safety challenges.
I mean, that's an interesting one for us, because in the fixed bottom offshore wind, we've done quite a lot of work, mainly out of our Netherlands office, actually, because they're a larger marine focused company, and then our Aberdeen office is a smaller sister company to that. But that tends to be actually our traditional marine and offshore safety equipment. So there's nothing that really changes from us for providing that equipment for an oil and gas platform vis-a-vis providing it for a fixed bottom or for a floating offshore wind platform. We're seeing, you know, the same risks, confined space entry for maintenance technicians that are having to go in and have a look at some of this very high voltage equipment, so they wear mobile gas. Might have escape sets as well that would provide survival suits, life jackets. It's all very standard stuff. I think even when you start to think about floating offshore wind or fixed wind tying back to electrolyzers, potentially offshore, that are then becoming gas production facilities, again, that's not unknown to us. You know, we provide a huge amount of fixed gas and flame detection to the oil and gas industry, and these are oil and gas production facilities. What is different is the gas that we're producing, the hydrogen, and potentially the confined or congested environment that could be present where you've got a lot of equipment condensed on a platform could prove a bigger risk where hydrogen's concerned. However, provided the ventilation is sufficient, and we might have to design our platforms sufficiently well to encourage improved ventilation over what we would do for the oil and gas industry, they could actually be safer. And I did have there was a great quote from Claire Jackson, who's head of Hydrogen UK, that said, and I use this for, is hydrogen safer or more dangerous than methane? And she said, who's faster, Mo Farah or Usain Bolt? And it depends on the context. It depends on the race that they're running. So for us, there will be some instances where hydrogen is safer, and there will be some instances where hydrogen is less safe, and it's all about engineering out the risk and understanding it.
And we're here having this conversation because of the creation of E-FWD, the brand that sits behind us on the screen. What's your impression of what we've created here and where we can take it?
Yeah, I've been really impressed so far. So obviously there was the inaugural event where it was clear that we had some big players in the industry, Gordon Brown coming along and continuing to stamp his mark in terms of the importance of the North Sea. Obviously North Sea 2 was kind of coined at that event, which I think is fantastic because we've relied so heavily as the UK on the North Sea. We've exported so many of our skills across the globe from the development that's been done in the North Sea oil and gas. The North Sea continues to lead the way in terms of the energy transition. The world's largest wind farm in Hornsea 3 is coming. So it's really important that we continue to sort of have that focus on the North Sea. And what I have found as well about the articles that have come out have been that they've been really well researched. There's been none of the sensationalism, because I think this is a platform that you sign up to and you commit to. There doesn't need to be the need for clickbait and those headlines that are there just to grab people's attention, which I don't think helps the energy transition, because there are two things that drive behaviour: fear and greed. And those are two things that we do not need to be part of the energy transition conversation. We need it to be about sustainable growth, about genuine safety practices, about sharing learnings, and about all moving forward together, not this kind of push-pull where we see sensationalism in the traditional media, in my opinion.
That's great to hear. There is, in fact, zero talking shop in the events that we host, and zero clickbait in anything that we produce and insights for our members. So if you're interested in getting involved in E-FWD, you can follow the links beneath the video. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event here in Aberdeen. Thank you, Megan.
No problem, thank you.